pivots in corporate plays. We'll groove through it all in funky ways. So join us now, let's find our way. Listen to pips and pivots every single day. Ooh, get money, get paid.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. This is episode 2 with Scott Leese of Pips and Pivots. Last week, I talked to Scott. If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen. Great episode. I kind of, we talked about like how there's all these different things you can do in sales, right? And everyone gets caught up in this trap of thinking like the be all end all definition of success in sales is to get to enterprise sales, right? But that's not for everyone. So me and Scott kind of talked about that. And, he and I were both of the belief that, really what you should do to be successful and find fulfillment in your work is just kind of figure out like what you really enjoy doing, what you're great at, and just specialize in that and become like, the person for, that type of sale. So I really like talking to him about that because I think it's an important message. I think a lot of people, they kind of chase the wrong things and things that don't suit them, and they end up getting burned out. We also talked about, we veered into like just talking about mindset stuff and resilience and kind of, working through difficult situations and how to like compartmentalize and perform at a high level when you have like a whole bunch of stuff going on in your life. So the talk today is going to really focus on like actionable and tactical things that you could start to do right now if you're an individual contributor and you want to eventually be a VP of sales or be a manager. Scott, you'll hear him talk about it. It's kind of cool to think about like in NFL coaching. You hear like the Bill Walsh or Bill Belichick now coaching tree, all these different head coaches that started either under one of those guys. And Scott kind of has the same thing. Like he mentions like he could probably rattle off a dozen people that are, VPs or revenue leaders now that started as like, ICs under him and he promoted into manager. So he has some really interesting things to share there. So if you someday want to become a sales leader and you're like a BDR now or an AE, this is the episode for you. This is a great thing to listen to. But even if you're not in that, classification or whatever, this is still a great episode. You're still going to find value. And before we get into it, lastly, like, again, if you like the podcast, if you want to support the podcast, support me, like, comment, subscribe, share this on socials, share it with your friends, and also visit my website and download all the free stuff. I'm going to put I'll put the address right here in front of my face. So my website address is right here in front of my face. And just go there. There's a bunch of free stuff to help you be happier in your career, help you get a job faster, help you figure out what you need to do to hit your quota every month. And it's free. It costs nothing. You have nothing to lose. And with that, here's part 2 of my talk with Scott Leese.
Tell yourself these stories. I think that protecting our mindset and ego of some sorts is so critical to success in sales. Yeah. Some people, when they hang up the phone or they get off a demo that didn't close or whatever, their immediate thought is, oh, fuck. Like, What did I do? What did I do wrong? I need to analyze the hell out of this thing, and you just beat yourself up. I'm going to be honest with you. When I get off the phone, when I was first in sales and a deal didn't close, I was like, this guy, Chris, is an idiot. That's what I used to tell myself. I'm like, this guy's an idiot. I can't believe he doesn't understand what we're trying to do here to help him out. It's his loss. I used to mentally have this attitude of they need me more than I need them.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if that's true. I just know that it helped me keep going and it helped me stay positive. And so I just kept telling myself that story,
Yeah. I had a VP once and he used to say, okay, the prospect is sick. They're sick and they're going to die and you're a doctor and you have the medicine. You got to get this medicine to them. And like, I don't know, it was funny. He was a kook.
Yeah.
He was a nut.
You tell yourself these things to get yourself into the frame of mind you need to be in and to get yourself to do the things that need to be done.
Absolutely.
And as long as it's not, hurting somebody, then I think it's okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's another thing I wanted to ask you about. So you've been a VP like tons of times, and you've probably promoted, like, how many ICs do you think you promoted to
Oh
frontline
my God.
managers?
I don't know, but I can
Yeah.
tell you that I could probably rattle off 24 names of
Mhm.
people who started as kind of entry level reps working under me that are now VPs of sales or founders.
That's amazing.
That's without like really thinking too hard.
Yeah.
And that coaching tree, for lack of a better phrase, means a lot. That means a lot to me. You
Yeah.
know,
I bet.
yeah. How many people got promoted into whatever role? I could not tell you.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you. A lot.
What are some of the things you're looking at when you're promoting someone into manager? Is it like, it's not purely just based on performance? And
No.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
so
No.
what are some of the
Not at all.
intangibles? Yeah.
Uh, the the most important thing I think is I have to get a sense that this person is a teacher of some sort.
Hmm.
They like teaching, they like coaching, they like helping people. They draw more sort of success. They feel like it's a bigger win if I help Chris close a deal than if I close a deal myself. Like
Nice.
that's more worthy of celebration. Or helping Chris get to whatever the next stage is in his life or career that he's trying to get to.
Mhm.
And I know why it matters because I've taken the time to understand a little bit about who Chris is, where he comes from, what's going on in his life. I get more fulfillment of watching that person change their lot in life than I did kind of changing mine. And I have to get a sense of that. You know, it comes from
Yeah.
spending time with people and really getting to know people and their motivations a little bit. So that was one
Right
thing.
on.
The second thing was they tend to do the job naturally way before they actually have the job.
Hmm.
So you can see people, you know, even in the lunchroom or whatever, right? There's a lot of people in the lunchroom and they're talking about sports or they're talking about what Netflix show is badass or whatever, or, you know, what party they went to that weekend or whatever. And then there's other people that you see in the lunchroom talking to other people about what was working or what's working for them. Just natural conversation. They're just trying to help their peer out. They're not even consciously probably, you know, positioning themselves as some sort of leader or anything like that. It's just like naturally I'm going to tell you what was working. And so I looked for that all the time, you know, on the floor, in the lunchroom, whatever, right? That's a big thing. It's very important to me towards the end that they be able to compartmentalize, as we've talked about, and handle multiple responsibilities and increase stress without a dip in the performance of their current role.
Right.
So one of the fastest ways to see if somebody is like capable of being a manager or not is also one of the riskiest ways. And that is, let's say you're one of my top producers, Chris. Okay.
Mhm.
The moment that I say to you, hey man, I think we're going to have a sales leadership role opening up in the next month or two. You know, I'm eyeing you for it. Here's what I'm looking for. I'd love to see you step up in these kinds of ways. Okay.
Yeah.
That is the most dangerous moment for both of you.
Okay.
Because what happens is the rep who wants to be a manager really bad starts leaning into the things that you're asking for them to show on the leadership side and starts pulling out of all of their individual contributor duties and roles and responsibilities.
Okay.
And their performance often tanks.
Okay.
Big time. It's like they're so close to the carrot.
Yeah.
And they just reach for it before they're ready and they just fall flat on their face.
And just go all in.
They buckle and crumble.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's other people who can't let go at all of the thing that feeds them. And right now, the individual contributor role and my quota attainment feeds me. So I can't really lean into these additional things that somebody's asking me for, right? So it's very risky and dangerous, right?
Yeah.
But you know you got the right person when they're like, yeah, all right, no worries, I can do that. And they continue to do what they've been doing, and they add these other things seamlessly with seemingly no additional stress on them. Their demeanor doesn't change. Their activity levels don't change. Their current performance doesn't change. They just add stuff onto their plate. And when you go from rep to manager, you have infinitely more responsibility. When you go from manager to VP, you have truckload more responsibility. So every step up the ladder you go, you're dealing with more. Your context switching all over the place all the time. People who can't do that are not built for these leadership roles. And so I would dangle it out there to people and be like, hey, I got a sales manager role. We're gonna hire in April. Okay. I'm talking to some candidates from the outside, sure, but I'd love to see you kind of step up and snag the role. Here's what I need. I need you to keep contributing, keep hitting your number. Plus, here's a couple areas I could use help, right? Keep your eye on this person over there. Try to mentor that person over here a little bit. I'm going to work on this like training document, and then I want you to kind of review it and augment it and make sure that it's close to what you're doing that's working. Just little things, right?
Yeah.
And the people who can pick that up and their performance doesn't dip, then I know that they're ready.
Yeah. Give them that little pressure test, see what happens, see how they react. Nice. And then I'm curious too. So you mentioned you have a lot of people that, the coaching tree, they're VPs now, they're founders and everything. But like, I'm thinking if someone's an individual contributor right now, they're early in their career, like, the first couple years, but they know they want to be a VP and an executive someday. What's something they can start to do to like develop that mindset and kind of begin to not position themselves necessarily, but prepare and kind of, set themselves up for that type of path?
I think change who they hang out with and adjust what they are studying and learning. So if you hang out with people who are lifer individual contributors, you're going to naturally adopt that kind of mindset. You're not going to be around anybody who is encouraging you to move into leadership. You're not going to be around anybody who can tell you how they got there or whatever, right? You might even end up hanging around people who tell you the opposite of all the reasons why you shouldn't go into leadership, right?
Totally.
Or people who are threatened by your ambition. We all know those people who try to shoot down some of your ideas, right? Or it's no different than the people who like to talk shit and hate on you because you decide to get sober, or because you decide to work out every day at 5 a.m. or use the ice barrel and the sauna and shit like that, which I just talked about yesterday. Like everybody wants to hate on me. It's like, you're gonna hate on me because I'm trying to make myself healthier? Okay. Right? So you got to change who you hang out with. That's part of it.
Stick with the win.
Hey, what's up? I hope you're enjoying the episode. This is just a really brief break to talk to you about my course. It's called Elevate Your Sales Career. It's a career strategy course for AEs and BDRs and anyone who's feeling kind of like maybe a little lost in your career. Maybe you know that like, hey, I'm a BDR now, but I want to be a strategic AE eventually. I'm not sure how to get there. Those types of questions, like anyone who's looking for like guidance and some structure in their career, this is a great course for you. It's a bunch of video content, workbooks, and an actual like huge text document that you're going to use to go through this framework that I've developed over the past 4 years working with clients to help you to determine what is your ideal role in sales. Like, maybe you shouldn't even be an AE. Maybe you should be an account manager or in renewal sales or something like that. Number 2, what is the profile of your ideal employer? How big is that company? How are they funded? What buyer personas are you selling to? What size companies are they selling to? So in other words, what's your ideal segment? On down the line. So we get really, really granular about your ideal sales job. And then we help you to develop a 5-year plan. So we're not just looking at immediately in front of the future. We're thinking about where do you want to be 5 years from now? How much money do you want to make? What kind of lifestyle do you want? And what do you have to do every year in between now and then to be able to get you there in a predictable fashion? And then once we have all those things locked in, then it's about putting together this plan in place to actually identify your top 12 dream companies to work for and get you interviews at those companies pretty much immediately. There's this thing in hiring right now where you click apply on LinkedIn, you put your resume in, and you never hear shit from anyone ever for as long as you live. So there's a way to go above and beyond recruiting. You don't even go through that path. You go straight to one of the sales leaders. So I have the whole framework and cadence laid out for you, as well as resources to help you manage the whole process. So go check it out. It's at my website right here. I'll kind of put it right here, or maybe I'll put it there and I'll put it there. And, I'll just put links to it everywhere. There's going to be a link in the show notes, but it's dankow.ski/elevate, and go elevate your sales career.
Stick with the winners. Yep.
Yeah. And then, just adjust what you're trying to learn. So if you're first in sales, you're probably consuming books about sales and closing deals and tactics and things like that. Okay, well, just switch to books about coaching, books about leadership. Doesn't even have to be about sales. Could be about sports. Could be about, I don't know, whatever. War, military books about leadership, things like that. Right on. Could be about psychology and sociology and understanding human behavior and patterns and things like that. That stuff prepares you massively, right? That's what I have had a really hard time in my life sitting down and consuming business books. Yeah, I do it, but it's like I feel like I'm in school again. Yeah, it'll take me fucking 6 months to rip through a 200-page business book.
Oh, okay? I get that.
But if you hand me a book by Phil Jackson or John Wooden or whatever, something like this, right? Or like a biography of, some captain of a sports team or some military general type thing, I will rip through that thing quick. Yeah. You know, it's just so much easier for me. And I can extract lessons from nonfiction or fiction easier somehow. Right. Yeah. Well, I learned that way. So I read all those kinds of things when I was a rep. I didn't wait till I was a manager to start reading that stuff. Right. That's just the stuff that I was interested in. And I still am more interested in that stuff today than, here's this 200-page manifesto on how to create better LLM AI agents, whatever. I don't want to read that. Fuck, do I care about that?
For sure.
I want to read about this person who climbed Mount Everest or crossed Antarctica solo. Like, how do these people accomplish these absurd feats of strength and mental toughness? Like, that is the muscle that I want to be exercising and getting tougher in myself.
Yeah. I think it illustrates how stories work so well in getting points across about, kind of high level concepts and values and things like that. Because, you can read a textbook on leadership and it probably has a lot of the same content as the Bill Belichick or, the Phil Jackson book. But in the Phil Jackson book, it's in a story, it's in the context of sports. You understand it better. It's not in this sort of sanitary, anesthetized, textbook style thing. I'm kind of the same way too. I don't devour a whole lot of sales content because of that.
Yeah.
Okay, one last question. Well, two last questions. So first, how long you been surfing for?
I started surfing in 2004. So
All right.
after my health scare and everything like that, I needed to try to rebuild
Hmm.
my body and my strength and all this kind of stuff. And I wasn't going to be able to play tennis or soccer at the levels that I was playing before. And I just needed something a little gentler on the body
Right.
and a little more kind of cathartic and healing of sorts. And so I can remember it vividly. I was at a happy hour after work with two buddies. And I just sort of said to them, man, we should go learn how to surf, expecting them to just laugh at me. And
Yeah.
they were like, yeah, we could do it. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And within a week, we had all bought, some crappy secondhand surfboard and Craigslist, wetsuit or whatever.
Yeah.
And we just started driving ourselves out to the beach a couple times a week, teaching ourselves, failing miserably, struggling miserably,
Hmm.
and just slowly got hooked on it. So I guess it's what is that? 21 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's a
21.
long ass time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I lived in San Diego for 12 years and I've never been surfing. That's
Oh my goodness. How is that
yeah,
even possible? How did
I
you
know.
not go once?
It's like I've been swimming in the water and shit, but it's just, once you get so far out there, there's sharks. And, I'm made of sweet meat, so I don't need to be getting eaten up by some sharks and shit.
Well, there's other places to go where there's no sharks. So
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that's what you need.
No,
Yeah.
I got to try sometime. I was just in Hawaii this past summer and I was like, dude, I got to, like, why am I not taking a surfing lesson? But yeah, I think I took a
Yeah.
nap instead. So I got lazy. But, all right. So, like, to tie it into work stuff, though. So, like, now you're marrying business and pleasure with the surf and
Yeah.
sales thing. So that's been going on for like 5-6 years or something.
This is year 8, actually.
Woo.
Yeah.
Shit.
So we started the Surf and Sales Summit in 2017. And the idea is just to have a small sales conference that is the opposite of all the Dreamforces, SaaStr type events that are full of tens of thousands of people,
Yeah.
and there's vendors everywhere and all this kind of stuff. And you go to, it's the same places every year: San Francisco, Boston, New York, whatever. Nothing against those places. It's just like, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
What do I need to go back there for? Why do I want to go to the Moscone Center for the 100,000th time? Like, that sounds boring, right? So we decided to throw this event in Costa Rica and keep it small and kind of do half days of content. And the other half of the day, we hire local surf instructors to give people lessons who don't know how, and, have good food and drinks and do some exploring and zip lining and hiking and stuff like that. So it's kind of part vacation, part, work event. And I think this year will be our 13th or 14th one. This will be our first one outside of Costa Rica. All of them have been in Costa Rica until now. And we're having our first ever Euro summit. So we're going to be on the coast in Portugal this year, October 5th through 9th for this year's Surf and Sales Summit. Yeah. Pretty excited. I went to Portugal last fall to kind of scout it out a little bit and figured out how to make it work, and off we go. So I think we're 2/3 sold out already, which is amazing. There's only like 8 tickets left, which I love to see. So it's been a pretty popular, event, and alternative way to use your learning and development budget for the year.
Yeah. Get that write off on
That's right.
Portuguese surfing trip.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. 2 birds, 1 stone. Don't you have another event concept that you're launching too?
Oh man, it's hard to keep them all straight. Yeah, I have this little event with Kevin Dorsey and Neil Weitzman called Not a
Mhm.
Conference. It's kind of for
That's the one.
founders and revenue leaders, kind of doing a day and a half workshop with them. And yeah, back in COVID era, I ran this community called Thursday Night Sales, and we had a couple events. We had one in Florida and one in Las Vegas that we threw for 50 to 100 people, I think. So I'm pretty experienced at putting small events on.
Nice.
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever be interested in throwing a 10,000 person sales conference, but these small events, sub 100 people, I think I got that pretty dialed in. So
Dude, maybe you
it's good fun.
screw all this sales shit. Like, go be a wedding planner. You know,
The wedding. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. Too much pressure. Too much pressure to get things right at a wedding.
I would just love to see you with like your bedside manner, you know, trying to chill out a bride on her wedding day,
right?
and like let her
Yeah,
know that
yeah.
everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Me and Bridezilla does not match. No. Maybe I can help. I can help people throw their bachelor party. How about that?
Oh,
I
there you go.
could do that.
That'd be a cool job. That would be fun. What how would you like people to connect with you, and where should they follow you?
Well, the best place to connect with me and follow me is probably on LinkedIn. It's just Scott Leese, Leese. You can learn about what I do at my consulting website. It's scottleaseconsulting.com. I help founders build and grow sales organizations. And you can learn about Surf and Sales if you're looking for an event this year at surfandsales, SALES.com. And yeah, I respond to everybody who messages me with a real message that's not spammy or AI written or whatever. So shoot me a note, say hello. Happy to try to be helpful.
Dude, that's awesome. And thanks for being accessible to everyone and me, and for coming on the podcast and everything. Like, this is awesome.
You're welcome,
and
man.
you know, after 11 years, finally getting to like hear your voice and talk to you. This is great.
That's cool. I'm glad you told me that story. That's very cool. Appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Thank you. So,
and that concludes the totality of my conversation with Scott Leese. I wanted to talk to him forever, just because, like I mentioned in the first episode, he had reached out to me on LinkedIn 11 years ago, and I've been reading his posts pretty much like every day since then. So it was cool to talk to him. It was also funny too, like, we all have this where you know, you follow people on social media and you almost feel like you know them in a sense, but like you never heard their voice. Like, I don't know why, but I figured Scott would have like a different tone of voice. Sort of random. Like, and I know like he has videos out there. I guess I never watch them, but yeah, it was really cool to get to talk to him, get to learn about you know, kind of his philosophy on how to strategically orchestrate your sales career. I think he and I, you know, we're both in alignment there, where it's like, you know what, just figure out like what you're really good at, what you really like doing, and just do the shit out of that. And you're going to be successful. Money is going to find you. And inevitably, you're going to become a subject matter expert at that, you know, that niche, right? And that's a good thing. So don't feel like you're obligated to eventually become an enterprise AE or a CRO or something, and that's the only way that you're going to be successful in this game. There's lots of different things you can do in sales, and you know, there's room for everyone pretty much. Also really liked, it's always great just to have like a sales leader on here who's, you know, worked from themselves from an IC to like a VP or a CRO, but have also, you know, promoted loads and loads of people into those roles from an IC role. And just, you know, I think it's invaluable to have that perspective of like, you know, what do you look for? What can they do? You know, what can someone do right now to start to prepare? You know, if someone's a BDR and they're 24 and they're just getting into sales, like, what can they do to start preparing to be like a VP someday? Like, I think those are really great insights. So yeah, awesome talk. I had fun. I hope you had fun listening to it. As always, if you enjoyed the podcast, you want to support it, all you have to do is like, subscribe, comment, share it on socials, share it with your friends, tell your aunties, tell your cousin brothers, tell, your Nana, everyone. Just tell them about the podcast. Do any of those things. You don't have to do them all either. And also go to my website. The address is right here. The address is right there. The address is here. The address is on my nose right now. Go to the website, download all the free stuff I have. Just tons and tons of free content that's going to help you be happier in your career, be more successful, earn more money, get hired faster if you're looking for a job. Just go and take it, man. It's free. You don't have to do anything. And with that, I just want to express, as always, like, I'm super grateful. There's 24 hours in a day. You're asleep for 8 of them. That leaves you with 16. You give half of those to your job. And so those other 8 hours, they're very valuable. And you just spent 30 minutes, so 1/16 of your free time with me and Scott Leese. And I do appreciate it. So thank you so much. Adios. Bye.